And so while I was in there, I was just like, I'm just going to replace everything.
Mm-hmm.
Check, you know.
Yeah, that's always not fun. Um,
No, but while you're in there, you might as well get it all done.
it's very, very true. We're now live, by the way. Hey guys, welcome to another Plasticast. Um, I'm here joined with Megamus,
What's up?
and Don's still on assignment. Not sure if he's going to pop in, but I do know that Sideburn is out chasing little red cars, so he will not be here tonight. But, with that being said, me and Megamus decided we're going to talk about what people do, what we do, pretty much, when it comes to stop collecting. What are you going to do with your collection, and why? Um, there's a lot of people that get kind of confused when they hear about this because they think, oh, we're going to stop completely. Are you going to just feather it out? What are you going to do? You know? And I want to know, okay, Magnus, like, in your eyes, when you hear somebody say they're going to stop collecting, what instantly kind of goes in your head?
Well, I wonder if there's reasons for it. Some people do it for financial reasons. Some do it for space. Some do it because the new stuff coming out just doesn't appeal to them. So then, they'll just keep what they have and be fine with that. And that's stop adding to the collection. So, not necessarily stop collecting, unless there's other things you could do. If you just wanted to stop, you could just take all your stuff that you have, box it up, put it in storage, and move on with your life. That's fine also. But if some of the things we were going to talk about were, well, what if you're done? You don't want to mess with it anymore, and I've got all this stuff. What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And there's many options out there that you can go with, and we've talked about this before with Evil Bay. Um, there's your local comic and toy venue that you can go to. There's
Yes.
Facebook Market. There's Facebook groups, and there's other communities. What I found is a friend of mine who a pretty big collector had multiples of all of his stuff and decided he was going to trim down. So he just made an announcement, and then he was able to sell a good portion just by listing or getting messages and getting rid of it that way. And you tend to get the most for your money that way, I believe, and you also provide a better deal for the consumer in that aspect also. So I think that to me is like a win-win. Jumping topics, but the other thing you could do is, if like one of the things I did was is I wanted to cut back on my Transformer collection, but I wanted to increase my comic collection.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to trading, and that was one aspect that you could do. In my eyes, categorizing and having storing comics is a lot easier than toys. You
Yeah.
know, not everyone knows, and comics are a little easier. They're easier to research. Definitely easier to store and manage.
That's a
But
very, very true, very, very true thing to say because it's kind of overwhelming when, like, like in my case, when I downsized because downsizing is another thing a lot of people do when it comes to getting out of collecting. Um, some like myself, I stopped about around Combiner Wars when it came with a lot of the modern figures. You know, I did have like a few trickle here and there, but I didn't actively look for the newest things. So downsizing is like a big deal. Like, not just saying, okay, your space is smaller. Could be just saying you're fatigued from seeing all of it. You could be fatigued from handling certain figures. Like a lot of the third party figures are highly complicated. I never really gravitated toward, but I know some people that absolutely enjoy those, so that's what they kind of just get into. But as you get older, it gets harder to remember how does this figure work, especially if you can't find the instruction manual, you know? And sometimes they're just frustrating to mess with.
Well, for me, the third party stuff is the juice worth the squeeze, and to me, it wasn't. I didn't want to spend an hour transforming a toy to look at it and go, okay, I'm going to transform it back, or whatever. To me, they made them too complicated, but that's just my take on it. There's a lot of people that like them. There's nothing wrong with them, you know. I always liked Transformers because I always liked Legos. I like being able to build stuff to do this, that, and the other. But I took a lot more enjoyment in spending an hour putting a Lego set together than I did an hour transforming a toy. So,
Yeah.
you know, uh, and I had problems because I did third party at the beginning when they had a lot more quality issues than they do now.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt a lot of times I felt cheated just with the quality I got. But like I said, that was early on, and that was just my experience. And I'm assuming they've gotten better. I don't really get them.
Well, see,
But,
that's always been my biggest question when it comes to collectors that get out of the collecting thing. Say they're just done, like you're talking about, right? How do you get rid of third-party toys? Because honestly, they're not backed by any major corporations, so it's harder to do research on some of them when they are older. And if they weren't around during the time, like say, if you look at the early was it about around 2008, 2009, like 2010s, they did a lot of really interesting figures, but a lot of those didn't hold up very well, like you were saying with quality. But there's also not a lot of people that, you know a lot about those, like especially nowadays. Because a lot of people jumped on the third party thing when they saw like what was I want to say it was TFC Toys, I think, is the one that made the Hercules. Am I correct? The Devastator.
Was that Make Toys?
It might have been Make Toys. But anyway, when that toy had come out,
that's the one I knocked off my desk.
yeah, when that toy came out, that opened up the eyes to everybody that, oh, third party can do combiners, you know. And I think that's where everybody kind of jumped on that third party train. But everything kind of, before that, to me was like if you're a collector, you're collecting like G1 and you want to get the upgrade kits for like Crazy Debbie back in the day, things like that. Those are a little harder to find, and when you do find them, it's hard to put a price on because there's not many of them in the aftermarket to even price it by if you're going to turn around and resell it, you know.
Well, I think you have to go in it with the right mindset that you're probably not going to get what you paid for it. It's not like you're going to make money. Now there are, exceptions. I know that like Head Robot. Head Robot did a lot of stuff, but they were very short-lived, and some of that stuff's pretty hard to find, and some of it's still wanted. Not everything, but I know that they were getting ready to put out some kits that for the time would have been amazing, but they never really got into mass release on those. There were some prototypes made, and I've got some, and I've seen others, and it's neat, but you're talking about something that it's will have a niche market. It's not for everyone.
Right.
And I think if you go in there thinking, I paid $100 for this, it's got to be worth at least $100. Well, maybe not. And that's the other thing that I didn't like about third party is that this year that looks good. Next year, another company makes one even better. Well, now yours is worth nothing. No one wants. Which, to be honest with you, the way Hasbro's going, every time I turn around, they're talking about like the new Megatron. Everyone liked the one before. Well, now this one. Whoa, throw that one away now.
Yep.
You know, and so, in my opinion, I don't think that collecting newer Transformers with the sole purpose of making money is an option anymore.
Now, what about the vintage stuff? Like, I know when it comes to certain pieces in the vintage line, when it comes to like your European exclusive or your Japanese exclusives, those normally hold a retention. But when we have like Optimus Prime that has tons of different variants, not to mention high quality KO versions of it,
Sure.
same with some of the other vehicles and such. How has that actually completely affected the market, especially nowadays? If it comes to, hey, I want to get rid of my entire Generation 1 lot, what do I do? You know?
Well, let's ease back a little and let's think about Fortress Maximus.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the knockoff stuff because the knockoff primes came and then they started doing all the cars and everyone started losing their mind because they thought there's no way a G1 prime is going to be worth the same because you can get a knockoff. Well, that really didn't happen because basically what it came down to is that the purists just became smarter. They were able to figure out the differences so they know what they're getting, and then they put the information out there so that other collectors could see this is what you need to be looking for. And so I think the prices on those kind of stayed about the same. Fortress Maximus, when they announced the Encore series, people were just losing their minds. They were just like, the price is going to go down. It's not going to be worth anything. And yes, it did go down. But the funny thing is after the Encore release was sold out, and it started building up a little, all the vintage stuff went back. I'm not going to say it went back to its full value, because you still had that 2021, 22, COVID, FOMO, gotta buy it now,
Yeah.
price hike on everything, which you need to ignore. But it's basically gotten back to where it was. And speaking of the Encore series, I mean, they did Prime, they did, the book style sets, and I really wish I would have kept my book style sets because they were fantastic. And then you get to Megatron, and you get the Encore Megatron, and it is amazing. Unless you get just like a mint G1 Megatron, you're not going to have the tight fitting, the gorgeousness of the Takara book style Megatron. That thing is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Because what the original one was before, it had 40 something years, probably more than that. Yeah, of play value.
I mean, because it came from the microchange line, so I mean, you had that molding that basically was reused for Transformers, so it is a little older,
Right. I mean, like I have the Man from Uncle in the box, and it's just as good as the day they made it, because it was never played with, and it's still to this day. I have a mail away Megatron. It's perfect. I have a G1 Megatron that's never been opened. Perfect.
Did you ever get the what was it, the farewell one, the one that came with Starscream, that 2-pack?
No, I do. It's the Goodbye Megatron.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that one. And that one, because it's different, it doesn't have the clip for the stock, and it has an extra bead and some other differences. it's a little different. But yeah, I mean, the ones that I have for my collection are in really good shape, but they've also been taken care of for 40 plus years.
Hmm.
And when the Dakar book style came out, everyone thought that would go down. Try and buy one now. Try and just buy a ratty, loose, complete Megatron.
Oh yeah.
I remember selling those all day long at conventions for $100. You're looking at $200 or $300 for a loose one, and I'm not talking in great shape.
Hmm.
They held their vibe. So G1 stuff, especially if you've got complete with all the accessories, and don't get me started on accessories because I I did accessories for what 27 years. I'm done. It sucks because with the reissue stuff and everything coming out, it's so hard to tell the difference.
Have you
It's
had
just
issues with like reproduction ones, like not necessarily the
reproduction ones are
3D
easy.
printed, but like the resin mold ones that almost look like
Yeah,
they're injection?
yeah, but you can tell they just can't do it now. The reissue stuff, tough. You know,
Hmm.
reissue seeker missiles. Okay, versus G1s. Sometimes there's a stamping, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes you don't know until you get them in hand. Sometimes you don't know at all.
Yeah.
So it 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 makes it difficult, and that's where you get all these websites that just dive into it and they talk about all the variations and they talk about how you can tell. I mean, I was cringing when I was putting the last of my vintage Star Wars together because of the right blaster, and I ain't even talking about a knockoff, just the right one because there's so many variations.
Hmm.
Transformers is getting that way, and it's a pain.
Well, like one I can really think of, like probably one of the biggest ones I can think of, because I mean it was even a running change back in the day, is Ultra Magnus, where you had the unpainted pieces, and
You had your
then
unpainted KB, and then you had your painted wide release. Yeah.
right, and then how many times it was reissued afterward. But
Oh goodness.
the Encore one,
The
um,
Encore, the
there's a Toys
commemorative.
R Us one, I believe.
Yeah, the commemorative series
Hmm. And it's
where
hard
they
to
have
tell
the
what the difference is between them because they're so close. They're like
oh
stupid close.
well the launchers are easy to tell, and the missiles 100% because even the Seekers they had the real long for safety reasons
Hmm.
missiles. Those are easy, but like
The
landing
chest
gear,
piece. Or you could
Seekers,
say, yeah, landing
landing gear.
gear. Yeah.
There's a difference between G1 and G2. What about reissue? Oh no,
It's
I'm sure
extremely
there is.
difficult to tell.
It's tough, So it's as far as G1 goes, I think it's going to hold value. You're going to see dips on everything every time they make a release, every time they do something. You know, variations, European, Japanese. I mean, they reissued Japanese ones too.
Hmm.
You know, and then now we're getting a Leo Kaiser. Yay! Can't wait. Bring it.
Yeah.
Give it to me now. Want it now.
Hear that, Hasbro?
That's right. I know you're listening. You always follow me. Do it.
Yep. But like going back to when it comes to like downsizing and getting rid of like, say you're
Yeah.
ready to sell out that entire G1 collection, what would you recommend somebody do?
It depends on what you want to do. Like for me, I had
They want to
one
do it
of
for profit, just to get rid of
okay.
it. They just want to get
Every
rid of it to have money to put
in
into
G1
retirement, whatever it is.
in G1, if it had a box, I had it boxed. I had the entire line, the whole U.S. line, every one, and I thought I'm going to go backwards. And the only thing I kept going backwards was I love the Action Master, so I kept my Action Master. But I Micromasters, I sold them all. The Pretenders, I sold almost all. Some of the junior Pretenders I kept because I had them carded. But that's what I did. I went backwards all the way down to the movie, and I sold the majority of my movie stuff. And then right around like when Blaster and all that came out, I kept that all the way back to my first Transformers. So I still have that, but it freed up a lot of room, and I got rid of a ton of stuff. But that's how I did it. Also during that time, I watched, and the Japanese market was at a pretty good high. So unless it was a gift set, I had it. It was Japanese exclusive. I sold it, and I did extremely well. So I guess if you're trying to maximize your profit on it, I would say look at the trends right now, see what's high, and just do like stocks. Sell high. You know, if you're looking at cutting your collection down and you got something that looks to be pretty rare, and right now it's trending up, wait till it hits that pinnacle and sell it. That's how you're going to make the most.
Okay. Because you got some people out there, you know, and a lot of us Gen Xers, a lot of us are calling a little bit jaded on this. It's like, I got a mitten box G1 Optimus Prime, right? Things should be worth like, you know how people are, $1,200-$1,400 or whatever. Honestly, what is a mint in box Optimus Prime going for that's from 84? Like, how much is that actually going for, Brett? Do you know? Because I know you go to a lot of shows, you've seen these things sell. Just to put it out there for people.
You which version? There's three versions.
The pre-rub. Let's go with the pre-rub because I know that's the hardest one.
Pre-rub, bloated fist, bloated
with
gun,
the metal
trailer in the box. It's been so long. Condition, I'm going to say 400 plus. I mean, and don't get me started about sealed stuff. Oh my goodness. Because I mean, they just had a. It's not AFA. Yeah, it is. Action Figure. AFA Megatron. I think it was an 80 or an 85. 10 grand. So I mean, it's everything's worth what someone's willing to spend, of course. But you got to know what you have, especially with Prime. Prime has so many variations and all that. It's, you know, you can't just say I've got this. How much is it? There's so much to it.
Right.
And you might have like a mint boxed Prime, and when you take it out, the hose is all warped, the tires are melted, you know, it just from sitting, you know, and they're seeing now even like sound waves that because of the heat, that clear plastic for the cassette tray becomes brittle, and you open it once and crack.
Yep.
It breaks. So, I mean, there's a lot to it. But do your research. Anytime you're going to buy something, sell something, you know, that's the more you know, the better.
So, say, like I say for our viewers, like say they were getting around and, okay, let's jump from G1 to maybe like, let's say I've got a bunch of Bayverse stuff. Let's just jump to that because I know you've seen this too. Say they're getting ready to offload that stuff. They're done collecting that. Or say they're a little younger, you know, mid-20s or whatever. They're getting ready to sell that stuff. Do you think it's a better opportunity for them to go to a show to try to sell it? Do you think it's a better opportunity for them to just list it online? Or do you think it's a good opportunity for them to just go to their local comic shop and offload it? What one would you say to those people?
Those are three options, and
Yes.
I'll put them in order. And it's depending upon going to a show. Okay, do you have one that's readily accessible? Is it too expensive to get a booth? You know, you have to put your costs and value in time. It's not just, the booth is $50, so it's going to be $50 I have to worry about. No, because you're going to be there for 1 or 2 days. There's food, there's lodging, there's driving, there's your time. All that has to be calculated. And also for those that go to shows, just remember that with the guy behind the table, when he's trying to sell you a toy for $2 more than you want to spend, he's got all those factors involved too. I'm sorry, not he, but they. He or she. Don't care. They have time, money invested in that, including what they paid for the item. And that's why you get that markup. But why would you do that? Well, $2, you get it now. You save $2, and you got to wait on FedEx to possibly slam it on your front door. So it's pros and cons on that. That would be my number one. If you have the opportunity to go to a show, I would do that. And the main reason is especially if you're doing vintage toys, is if I say this is mint, you may not think it's mint. But if we have the item here and we're talking about it and you're looking at it, you get a pretty good idea what you're buying. So you have that aspect. So I would say a show is not going to give you the most, but I think it's going to be in the long run better. To get the most, you throw it up on an interest group, Facebook groups, and you will get, you put it for this price, the guy agrees upon it, and boom, you move it. But then you got to worry about if he's satisfied with his purchase. You still have shipping, so there's a little cost there. Not as much as like at a booth. And then the third thing that you mentioned was like an LCS or a toy store or something like that. I don't know, unless they already have a buyer in mind. They're probably only going to give you about 50%, maybe 40% of what they think they're going to be able to get out of it, because they're tying up, even if it's 40%, they're tying up 40% of their money for an item they're hoping to get 100%, but they're willing to be talked down to 8. And that's the thing people don't get. Well, if it's a $100 toy, why are you only giving me $40? Because if someone offers me 80, I'm probably going to take it.
And a lot of people don't understand when it comes to actual shops. Shop is a store. They have employees. They have bills. They have to pay for that place that they have to put the stuff in. So some people think, oh well, these people are millionaires or whatever, they're running these places, and they're not. If I got a G1 Optimus Prime and I'm like you were saying, a sealed one around $400 or $500, maybe a little more depending on the condition of the box. You may be lucky to get 2 out of it at a shop like that, because they're going to probably sell it for maybe close
I know.
to
I've been there. I've been to a shop, and I think you have too, where you find out the owner of the shop lives upstairs.
Yep.
Lives there. Because it costs money. It costs money to run a shop. It's not free.
No.
And
it's a lifestyle at that point for those people. So,
sure, it's their livelihood.
Right. So whenever you keep that in mind, if you go to a toy store and they're going to not be giving you a whole lot of money for this stuff, just be happy that you're getting money, and it's going back into the collection market instead of staying in a closet after you kick off, and then your kids are stuck taking it to the Goodwill because they don't know what to do with it.
Sure.
So
there is another option, and it's one that I provide, which is fun. And I'm not the only one. I just happen to be one of the ones that kind of first did it. But at these shows, they have room swaps and stuff like that. And, you just go down the lobby and you pop your stuff up and people come by, see what you have, and they might buy it, this, that, and the other. One of the things I always did at the shows I went to is I offered my room. If you wanted to bring your stuff by, pop it on the bed and try and make some money, I don't care. It's just an area that, makes it easier for everyone to get to, as opposed to going to 20 different rooms in the lobby and hoping that you get there before someone gets what you want. Kind of make an area place where everyone gets together, chill out, and you know trade and sell and buy, and it works out well. But not every convention has that. But that's
Very
another ad.
that's very true. I mean, some people, but it's like say you don't have the opportunity to go anywhere and do any of that, so you have to do everything from your home. So you don't have the time for it as well. So you had plans to do something with all this stuff, but you didn't have the time to do with it. So it's like, okay, what do I do now? Do I just
Well,
put the whole lot on eBay and try to sell it for whatever it is, and then hope
I
it gets to somebody safely through the delivery service?
I would try. You're gonna do it as a lot, okay? As a lot, I would probably do. I would probably go with interest groups on Facebook as a lot. But you still have to ship it. If it seems like it's just too much, you just have way too much, then maybe that is when you cut your profit, but you also cut the time and effort, and that's when you hit up your LCS or your local toy place, and you kind of have to take. You're going to get less for it, but it's going to be less headache.
Right.
So that's another option.
I'm trying to remember. Hi, Don, by the way.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I was having some dinner.
Hey, dinner's good. We all need to eat.
Or chops.
Yum. Too bad I can't have them because it's red meat. Anyway, I am not a vegetarian, people. I just have a diet I have to continue. But talking about what we're talking about right now is like what you do downsizing your collection, or if you're getting out of it or whatever. I am trying to remember. It's been some time back. I feel so bad about this, but there was a Facebook group that they had where people could donate their toys and send them to them, so they would just distribute them to other people that wanted them. It was kind of like, hey, I would like to have this. Does anybody have this? And they're like, yeah, ship it to them. Nothing. Costs nothing. I forget who is doing that. I want to say he was a big Beast Wars guy, but I cannot remember offhand. I don't know if Don probably remembers who I'm talking about or not.
I don't. I vaguely remember what you're talking about, but not
I'm going
enough
to say
to
like
provide any.
Brentasaur or something like that, but I can't remember his name for sure. But he had started this thing on Facebook where he had it so you, like, say you had, Armada Sideswipe you didn't like. You just wanted to send it off. Like, I don't want this anymore. Nobody wants this. Send it off. Like, send it to somebody that would really want it, and they were able to do that kind of thing.
I will say this much: the person you just mentioned, it is not that person.
Okay. I'm just trying to remember who it was. I want to say it was, but I'm probably incorrect on that.
That was a totally different fiasco.
Okay.
Not worth getting into.
Okay, no, not a problem, Brett. I was just trying to think of who it was, because it has been some time back. I don't know why that name popped in my head.
And I'll be honest with you. I saw it. There was. I watched. Oh gosh. No. Do you know who Alex is?
Alex. No.
Don.
I
Big
don't have any I don't remember. It's too many years.
Anyway, he went to the show that I was at, and he picked up a lot of good stuff. And he walked over and he looked at this guy's table, and he grabbed like 10 or 20 different things, bought them all, walked right over to the Toys or Tots, and dumped them in. So there's that.
Yeah.
Toys or Tots.
Yeah, and there's also what we do on RFC for the holidays. Something similar. Is that if you want to buy a toy or you want to donate a toy, you don't have anybody locally, you can go through Amazon. Our Amazon link does not give us any affiliate money for this at all,
Uh-huh.
and then you can ship it to uh, Brian, and he will put it in Toys for Tots for you. Of course, it's better if you do it like locally, so it benefits your your local kids. We
Right.
we do it. We jokingly called it originally because we were trying to get all the toys off the shelf at the holidays. So
I
new
remember
toys,
that.
yeah, so new toys would get on the shelf finally. But we do say that the kids really don't care what it is, if it's an older toy or whatever the case may be. But sometimes that's the only toy these kids will get. So we do that as well. Then of course you have your own local donations and stuff like that. Toys for Tots is generally the preferred way as far as making sure that that.
That to me has always been the 100%, as far as I know, non-profit organization.
Yeah, but there
There's
are other
ones out there that,
yeah,
when you
it's
see one of the big guys from Goodwill with his second mansion, you're kind of like, well,
yeah, and there's other groups that they might take the toys and they'll distribute them, but the money they get goes for causes and charities that like
Yeah.
that. So it's stuff that's not exactly in the spirit of the holidays. But so the topic is about downsizing, right?
Yeah, so
Downsizing or just getting out of the hobby at all, the general, like what people
one
are
of the things
doing.
one of the things I had talked about, was if you're downsizing, you could go to, Facebook, or you could do um, LCS, local comic shop, stuff like that. Or if you happen to have a show in the area, you could go to a show and sell. Those are all viable options, but they all inherit costs, whether it be time or lack of more money or what have you. That was my play on it.
Yeah. Well, being one of the older people in the fandom, I have never done a purge. I still have stuff from I have sold stuff through the years,
Mhm.
but in terms of getting out, like what TJ Omega did a couple years ago when he liquidated a lot of his collection, when the Hartmans got out
Mhm.
and they liquidated their collection. We all remember when John and Carl was selling their collections. That was a just a gut punch when they got married, they were having kids, it was a life cycle thing. Maybe with me having gotten married, so I got married when I was 52 for the first time. My very first marriage, I got married when I was 52, and my wife is turning 50 next month. Our first marriage for both of us. So I did not have the life cycle of your traditional American male. Grow up, meet someone, get married in your 20s, start having kids by your late 20s, early 30s. I didn't do that. So I was collecting the entire time I was single. And now it's basically biting me in the butt because I have an entire basement full of toys. I have a storage building that I pay $200 a month. That's completely full of toys. And
Have you thought about downsizing?
I do that now that we lived in this house about 3 years. Right before we got married, we looked for a house because we were in my 2-bedroom apartment, the one I lived in for the longest time with Massey.
Mhm.
And I've been trying for 3 years to get the basement done, to get everything out of boxes, out of the shipping boxes, then out of their individual boxes, putting them on shelves, putting them on display. I've made very little progress because between some flooding we had on Christmas, the year we lost Massey about the same time. That was a kind of A couple weeks I didn't want to go down there after we lost Massey, because that was like his domain. You know, it was called the room that he liked to stay in was we called it the cat cave because that was where he always would hide and like to sleep on the old recliner. So, but as I go through that downstairs and I get overwhelmed because I know what I want, but I can't get there. I cannot montage myself to be at that point. And I'll never have a collection display like, say, Bobby Skullface. He does a collection critique. Um, he has a very extensive collection, all the way from third-party Transformers up to 1/6 scale DC and Marvel statues. You know, he has a very immaculate collection with a lot of incredible pieces. But he's also artistic. He has dioramas. He has stuff like that. I can't do that. I don't have the money to do that. I don't have the money to hire someone to do that. I just want stuff on shelf that looks pretty so I can say, this is my collection and it's not in boxes. But I get extremely overwhelmed. I go down, I get 1 day off a week and I'm not spending my second days with my wife. And I get nothing done because I get down there. It's like, okay, I want this. And then I have everything everywhere. And that's just downstairs. I have a storage building that is full because I never purged. Now, this overwhelming feeling has finally got me to the point where I am setting up at a relatively local toy show in October to begin selling stuff off. The problem is I have tried to cut back on my buying, but I still love a good deal. And also the fact is some of the stuff I know if I don't get it now, with the way the tariffs, distribution has always been, am I going to wind up paying more for it later? It's like I got the Cold Slither set because I know it was with G.I. Joe. It's going to be one of them things where Hasbro was like, it's like Serpentor was, or Dr. Mindbender for classified. If you don't get it when it comes out, you are going to have to pay a lot more on the secondary market or hope for a reissue.
One and done.
Exactly, pretty much. That's what I've been trying to do, is put off buying mainline. But it's like today I got a package from Amazon with Studio Series movie, the War for Cybertron Thundercracker. I got it mainly to complete the trio. Because I don't want Starscream and Skywarp without Thundercracker. Granted, I was able to use Pay in 6 with my Amazon card, so I'm not paying that much per month, so I'm still getting the figure I want. But it's very hard for me to just... It's like I want the Snowcat. I'm going to back the Snowcat. Because I had to pay the late fee on the his tank. I'm not doing that again on another HasLab.
Did you get the router?
Because yes, I did.
Okay.
Now, see, I wasn't collecting classified. I was cherry picking classified at the time. But the more I got classified, the more I saw how incredible that line was for a $25 figure. When you look at a Star Wars Black Series, and Star Wars is dead to me. For the most part, I could care less about anything Star Wars except some of the ships and a Scout Trooper. I love an indoor Scout Trooper. I just love the design.
It's funny because you said a couple things that I have to admit I would do the same. One, I'm pretty much out of doing parts.
Why, I didn't know that.
Yeah. At the last show, I had someone buy all my parts. And I'm just, because we were talking about that before, with all the reissues and how hard it is to differentiate, and to be honest with my eyesight being the way it is, I don't want to do it. But
plus 3D printing now, you can print a lot of the stuff.
Right, but then you mentioned something, and you're like, the good deal. If a deal came by to buy more parts and it made sense, Yeah, I probably would be right back into doing it. So I agree with you on that. As far as it's funny because you mentioned the classified line. I just sold my classified line.
Oh, wow.
You know, his tank. Um, I didn't have a whole lot, like 20, 25 figures. Um, I'm like, I'm not displaying them. I'm not going to miss them. I'm sick of stuff being in storage. Sold it. Done. Not going to miss it.
Yep.
They're neat. Don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
they really are. I found I would get them out of the box, put it all together, like I put the his tank together and all that, displayed it, never touched it. You know? And it kind of goes kind of sort of along the lines of some of the transformers that take like an hour to transform. Never going to touch it again. I'd rather have the ones that, and I go back to them again, sitting right here, the Missing Link series. I'll take them, and while we're sitting here, I'll get them with them and everything. I like that better.
Yeah.
So I didn't
It's
miss that portion.
yeah, and see that's my problem is I love the hunt. I love the wheeling.
Sure.
y'all both have seen me in a dealer's room.
Hmm?
You I thrive in a dealer's room. It's having grown up with parents that were into antiques and flea markets after they retired. It became something that is second nature to me. To wheel, to deal, to look for the best price, to hunt for those rare. And I put a lot of work into my collection to get the pieces at the best possible price. So that way I didn't feel bad about collecting at a slightly lower price level. I wasn't spending as much, as I could have been.
Right.
True.
But
But
you brought up a good point.
Yeah,
You brought up a good point. You said that you're getting overwhelmed. Well, that's
yeah,
kind of what we're doing with this series we're doing today, is to try and get people to think about that before they get to that point where they're overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been there too.
yeah.
Um,
It's
and how do you tackle it? What do you do? Do you just start with a series, or do you just grab a series and say, I like these three characters out of this series. I'm going to get rid of the rest. I mean, how are you going to tackle that?
see that's what I face every day is because it's like I have made purchases for many years of characters that don't mean a lot to me, but either they were a really good deal or it's part of a set. It's like War for Cybertron. It's like, do I like those seeker jets? Yeah, they're pretty nice. But if I'm really honest with myself, I got the Thundercracker to complete the set, not because of any great love for Thundercracker in that form. He completes the set. Now it's like, okay, yeah, I got the set complete, but if I'm being totally honest, does it mean as much to me as getting as Missing Link RC and the prototype RC will be? No, I could have used that money for that. And that's what I'm trying to force myself to do, but I'm not succeeding because just uh just a few days ago I picked up a class of Super 7 Zartan, but I got it for $42 shipped versus the 55 and plus shipping that you see everywhere else. Because I really think that's a good looking Zartan. It's Super 7. I know there's going to be some limitations, but I didn't need it for my collection. But he fills that spot on that what will be the Super 7 shelf. So yeah, I'm overwhelmed. I am drastic, and I'm trying to force. It's like, but if you go to my Show Z pre-order page, I got X-Trans bots, Misfire, Slug Slinger. I've got one of the Toy Easy battleships, but I do need that one to complete the set because it's a combiner. And I've got a couple other things on a watch list. It's like I'm just afraid of having to go back and get stuff. It's FOMO. It's pure, unadulterated fear of missing out, FOMO of paying more later. But
Yeah, but you have
does
to. You have to. You got to decide.
I know,
That's
and
what
I don't want to make that decision.
tough. It's
don't.
tough.
It's like I've gone through my lists at Amazon, and I've gone through my list at Big Bad Toy Store, and I've gone through my list at Hasbro Pulse. Now, I have canceled a lot of stuff at Pulse because I was able to get them on Amazon with like paying $6, so I'm not paying as much for the same stuff. So at least I'm kind of saving money that way. If you squint and turn your head. I didn't cancel
You
any of
can
my
rent
Pulse
yourself
exclusives.
anything if you want to.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like I didn't cancel my Trench Vipers because that's a Pulse exclusive. Those are going to be very difficult to find later on. I didn't cancel my classified Snake Armors. Those are going to be very difficult to find later on, if impossible. I have the Rathalos Prime from Monster Hunter, and I'm thinking, do I really need this weird Prime? It looks great. Do I need it? But making yourself hit that cancel button is one of the hardest things to do. And I don't. I would make a great Orange Lantern for those people that are familiar with the DC universe. I'd make a great Orange Lantern. I would suck as a Green Lantern. I got no willpower. But orange? Oh, I would rock the orange.
Let me ask you this. This was something that we brought up. Let's say you got okay. What is that? Armada Prime. Okay. The way back Armada Prime with the big pants and
The original one?
Yes.
Or the legacy version? Okay, original version, yeah.
I'm getting to it. Yes. Okay. And then the legacy comes out. Do you really need the original? Do you still need that?
That's my problem is the original represents something at that point in time.
Yeah, but right now it represents a toy in a box in a basement.
Exactly. But when I get it on the shelf and it's displayed properly, it's going to be this visual look that the legacy's not going to have, even though the legacy is, by most cases, a better toy and maybe a better representation of that version of Optimus. That original Armada Optimus is still something we'll never get again. And there is a ton of Energon Trilogy stuff. Unicron Trilogy stuff. I wish I never bought. I wish I had never bought probably 75% of the Unicron Trilogy stuff, just because I was buying everything at the time.
Well, then there's where you start. Start with that.
Yeah.
That.
Finding it is the thing, but still.
Well,
and also,
what did I say before? Sometimes you got to put some legwork in. You got to put some elbow grease in.
yeah, but I have a 10 by 10 storage building in addition to the basement.
Get it?
So it's exhausting when I go downstairs because there's so much. The wishing you hadn't bought it is what really deflates you, because you enjoyed it, you put the hunt into it, but now it means nothing, and it's probably not worth that much to even bother selling.
Well,
and I feel like
here's one way of looking at it, and if it helps you, great. If it doesn't, I'm sorry, but it's just how my brain works. If I bought a toy for $50, and right now it looks like I might be getting 20, you could say, well, I just lost $30. Or you could say, I'm still out $50 and I have something in my basement or storage unit I don't want.
Yeah, it's a very,
and just move on. The
collecting, I think, is Mental Olympics because of what you have. Like when pre-orders go up at Pulse,
Mm-hmm.
trying to order the stuff from Pulse and having issues with the website, or getting something. If you remember Matty Collector and Digital River back in the day, trying to get, yes, trying to get stuff. The last couple of Pulse drops have been very reminiscent of Matty Collector, and that's not a good thing. If you're old enough to remember DC Universe Classics and trying to get their exclusive stuff from through Digital River on that, and I was on dial-up, so that was even worse trying to buy stuff. But I think I'm finally at the point where I would like to say it's time to get rid of stuff seriously. But like yesterday, I got Japanese Spider-Man because it's such a cool-looking figure. I got it from Amazon because I had a gift card from my aunt, and the only place selling it is Walmart. Now, everyone that is a collector that has gone through the Walmart Collector Con knows exactly what I'm talking about because they canceled most everybody's Excellion orders. They canceled most everybody's orders for Sideways, and they put them back up and start flooding the stores with them in some cases. The entire second capsule that had Cosmos and Galaxy Shuttle wound up going to Ross's. So it's like you don't know what's going to happen with this stuff. And like I said, with the tariffs, the distribution has been spotty and been getting worse for years. They even acknowledged that with Studio Series Devastator. How they're trying to get it all out in 1 year versus the Stunticons.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as getting rid of stuff, all I can do is, now that I'm doing the show, I'm going to have to look at, okay, does this mean anything to me other than nostalgic feelings for the hunt? Yes, I enjoyed the hunt. I'm glad I have this in my collection. Does it mean anything to me now? And that is the most difficult question I can't ask myself because it all means something. But I'm going to bring up something that's very sad, but very relevant. About 12 years ago, maybe 13, over
I
on
was
Radio
wondering
Free
if you're going to
Summer.
bring this up.
Yeah, but I think it's very relevant. I think it's very
Yes.
relevant.
Yeah.
We had a very good friend, JD Church, very well known. He's responsible for RFC coming back after the hiatus it was on. He was on Fanboy Versus, which was the comic book podcast we were doing. JD was larger than life. If you knew JD, he made you laugh, he made you angry, he made you just like, whatever you're on, I want some of it. But it was just the way he saw life. And he passed away about 12 years ago from a sudden ailment. And Brian and I took most of his collection from his widow and tried to sell it for her because she knew a little bit about what he collected, but not enough to probably get what it was worth. And Brian and I tried to sell out what we could. What I have left is the stuff that just really won't sell, like that. But that's what I worry about. Being the age that I'm at, being 55, I am worried about passing away and my wife having to deal with a storage building and a basement full of stuff. And that every year that weighs more and more on my mind that I
Sure.
need to get rid of this stuff, if not for my sake, if not for financial responsibility, then for her sake. But I'm overwhelmed.
I will tell you this much. I started doing that, I guess it's been about 3 years ago. I can tell you that once you make that first purge, it becomes easier. It really does. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
one of the things I did early on, after my middle son moved out, his bedroom was bigger than the one I use for my collection. And the wife was like, "Well, you can just start using that one." I'm like, no. She says, "Well, why don't you just move everything into that one that's bigger?" No. I said, "This is it. This is the space I'm allotting myself. The other stuff, I still have stuff in the basement. And my goal is to get it out. I have to limit myself." And I did it within four walls. That helped me control it. So I didn't go down the road you did. I stopped myself from doing that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with what you did. There's nothing wrong with what I did. But the problem is that when you get to the point, and then, like you said, you become overwhelmed. Okay, so then you just have to cut pieces, like cutting a pie. And you start by just taking a chunk, and you'll find out once you start it, it's easier. And
Yeah.
every toy that I bought, there's a story behind it.
Yeah.
I still remember them. I don't need the toy here to remember it. That's what you got to get out of your head.
Well, the thing is, that's what I wanted the basement to do, was to force me to make these decisions, because it's a we have about 1,300 square feet down. The basement finished is almost as much as the upstairs, and then we have a very small unfinished section down there. That's a workroom from the previous owner. So I have a lot of room down there, and I'm still not able to force myself to get rid of a lot of the stuff, and I'm still buying stuff. I'm wasn't I was thinking about not doing the show tonight because of this topic,
Mhm.
because it is so exhausting,
Sure.
and I don't get the joy that, in some cases, that I used to, because I know I'm going to buy it, like this Spider-Man that I think looks great, and I got it, and it'll look great on the Spider-Man shelf. But do I really need another Spider-Man? No. So
That
I mean, I can understand where you're coming from there, Don, like when it comes to purging, because I had a huge issue. When I was in the military, toward the tail end of my career there, I was trying to stop drinking. So I flipped the switch and I went right back to doing still what I was did before, buying and toys. It was trade one thing for another. You know what I mean? And there for a while, when I was in college, I had tons of toys, stuff like that. And when I got really close to getting out of college, I was like, I need to get rid of some of this stuff. It's going to be hard to move. I don't want it to get broke. I don't want it to just end up in a bin and forget that I even had it, you know? And as I've gotten older, I've learned to, do I really need the War for Cybertron line? Do I really need this line of Movieverse toys? You know? And literally looking at everything as a chunk, like what really means a lot to me. And I got to talking to Daniel. Everybody knows who Daniel is, Proto Man. He had told me what to do. And when I lived down in Texas for a while, I had an overabundance of stuff. And he said, I know what you need to do, dude. Since you're such the Generation 2 guy who loves G2 so much, get rid of everything else. Just get rid of it because you needed the money. You needed all this. You had to get... And it was hard for me because I had pretty much everything G1. Very hard for me to do. But after I got rid of the stuff, it made me focus on collecting more. It helped me, okay, what means what? Currently right now in my collection room I have a shelf. It's got a Castle Grayskull in it, and I've got a whole bunch of like little miniatures, tiny little different types of toys all the way throughout the entire shelf. And it's a sentimental shelf. because it's got stories behind each toy that was either given to me or something I had when I was a kid that I was extremely attached to. By doing that, it helped me even internally to internal say, hey, I don't need to do the chase. I've done the chase. It's fun. If you find something that's cool that you really want to get, it'll allow you to open up a little bit of room for something. But I've also talked to my other half about this. It's like if I get something, I usually let go of something. So that way I don't feel like I'm overwhelming the house, overwhelming myself, and, causing it harder, for family to get rid of this stuff. Say something happens, any of us could drop of the hat. You could be as healthy as a horse, It happens to everybody. But what happens is with the people underneath you, like, who is going to be taking care of it after you're gone, I know it's really hard to go through a ton of totes. I have been there. I don't know if you watched Pixel Dan recently, but he's been doing videos of going down in his basement, digging out stuff, and he's finding stuff where he's double bought that he didn't even know he had.
Oh, I've
Been there,
So,
been there,
oh
done
yeah,
that.
oh yeah, yeah. It's like
it's real.
yeah. I actually messaged BBTS a few weeks ago through their comment section, and I said, "Have y'all considered having a search engine for the order system, so that way if I see something on sale, I can make sure that I haven't already bought it from y'all, because that would help me not double buy." And they said, "You're not the first person to ask for that. It's not something we can implement at this time, but you're not alone." So it's like I found stuff that I don't remember buying.
And that's the thing. It's like if it's in a box and you've forgotten about it, are you really
How important
missing
is it? Right.
That's what it is. Like recently, I went through and I was kind of redoing my collection room. I had a Millennium Falcon somebody had bought me a while back. I gave it to my father-in-law because it was like I didn't have room for it. Well, it ended up back in my collection again. Wasn't the best shape, but I did some customization to it to make it better. And then I turned around and I gave it to a good friend of mine. It's still in the collection. It's still going to somebody else, and I get an internal fulfillment for doing something, and now I have a memory attached to that. You see what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
sometimes that is just enough to make you feel like, hey, I didn't waste money. I didn't waste someone else's money. I didn't waste time. It was worth it. That usually helps a lot. And that's something I've learned to try to do throughout the years. I've had people donate toys to me. I donate toys back. Sometimes, if I can't donate them, I will take them to the shop and see what they want. I'm not looking for a huge profit. Never do. Because I want it to end up in a collection community for someone else to enjoy in the future. That's just how I kind of see that. So it's like, it's a good way of thinking of it that way. If you're like, hey, I do need to purge stuff, what do I start with? I would start with the one line you really don't really give a rip about. Find that line and get rid of it. And once you do that, like Megan says, it becomes easier because then you'll start seeing the space opening up for you to be able to, oh, now I have room to actually get to my shelves to put my stuff up.
Because
It also has to do with your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a completist and you want to do things by lines, that's one thing. If you want to, well, I'm just going to keep the best figure I like of that particular line, and you're good with that, then do that.
then you feel like it's incomplete.
Well,
It's like having shrapnel but not bombshell and
mindset,
kickback.
If you get out of the completist mindset, you can do it. I didn't say everyone could do it. So it's just different strokes for different folks. It's just how you try and deal with it. And none of it's wrong. Collect what you want. Collect however you want. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think it does become an issue when you see it as an overwhelming problem, like you're saying.
Yeah, because I go downstairs
and
and
then
I
you need
look
to
at
address it.
I look at what I've got, and it's like, how am I going to get rid of this stuff? And I've got to force myself to stop buying stuff because I like this figure and it's a good deal, but it's like, do you really? Did I need that Zartan? No, I got it because it was a good deal for a line that I do like. I wanted it to fill that collection spot. But again, if I'm being honest, it's I can't tell you how many times over the past couple of weeks. This started when I got my truck. I got a new truck back in May, middle of May. It's like I said, with the tariffs and the pricing and everything else, I was given a pretty good deal that I didn't think it would get any better based on all the factors. So it's like I need to cut back just because I now have a truck payment, and I have succeeded to a degree, but not to the point that I think I should be. It's like, am I going back to Snowcat? Yeah, I'm going to back to Snowcat because if I want that later on, it's going to cost me a fortune like the His Tank did. Luckily, I had some eBay sales to help offset the His Tank. I sold a Studio Series 14 Ironhide from the earlier in the Studio Series figure. After eBay fees, I got $125 for that Ironhide, which paid for the Cold Slither set. So I've got a exclusive set that cost me the price of a Voyager. So, but how often can I do that?
I mean,
Just depends.
It really just depends on the market. I mean, we've all been in this market for long enough that we've seen certain toys hold a value and certain toys just literally bottom out and never recover from. So, I mean, in my opinion, it's like I said. I mean, I personally downsized because I needed to do it for my own mental health. And
Yeah, that's my problem.
that is
I can't.
really what honestly, Don, what I would do. I'm one of those kind of people. I've learned to have to step back from everything and focus and be like, okay, what really, really, really means a lot to me, and then that's what I execute on. If it's something I don't think is necessary, it just doesn't belong. It just doesn't fit. It's that Lego brick that you can't get to fit because it's janked, and it's as much as you want to salvage it, you can't. You know what I mean? It's that type of mindset. I know it's hard. Believe me, I do. Because I want to see you be able to set up your collection, but it's one of those things where you have to step back and like, do I necessarily need these? If I'm not going to set these up right now, where do I put them? Maybe those go into storage and I pull something out of storage that should go in that place. Maybe that type of rearranging thought might help you organize what you're trying to do. And then you'll be like, why did I buy 4 of that figure?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, so one of the things that
those.
you just was like rotating. And people have told me that too. Well, I mean, you got stuff down in the basement. Well, rotate it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm just going to want to do it again and again. Whereas I could just, if I'm not going to see it, it's out of mind. I could just get rid of it. But that's my mindset. There's nothing wrong with rotating. There's nothing wrong with, whatever you want to do. But I do feel that what you're going through, Don, is what I started going through about 3 years ago. And it's that we're not going to be around forever. I do not want to leave this for someone else to have to deal with. And so I started doing things to try and make it easier. Like I said, I turned to comics. So I traded a lot for comics, and I have comics, and I still have them. But it's going to be easier for those who are left with this task to figure out the value and sell a comic as opposed to a Beast Wars character that means this to me because it came from here and it's got this and blah blah blah, and they may not know what it is, they may not be able to research it, I mean, like some of the prototypes that I have, I've never seen before. How do you leave that for someone and say, make sure you get the best dollar for it? I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't
Those
know.
are like museum pieces, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't know what to do.
And I mean, it was not a burden to help JD's widow by absolutely zero stretch of the imagination. Because I wanted to get her as much money as we could get for those items. Because I'm sure that's what JD would have wanted us to do, help her out. But having gone through that, I don't want Brian or XV or y'all or someone in the fandom, even if it's out of the goodness of their heart to help my wife, I don't want them to have to do that.
Well, see, I've got my best friend. We've already talked about it. And if it does come to pass and I didn't have time to make the plans and everything, then he's going to do it. And he already knows what I want. I made those plans ahead of time. So, there's nothing wrong with that. Don, if you were to come to me and say, if this happens, do this, I would respect that. And I would imagine that everyone else, your friends, would be willing to do the same. And there's nothing wrong with having a little planning ahead. It's the nature of the beast. I mean, there's two things that are always going to happen: you pay taxes and you die. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So
it's like while you were talking. Yeah. Like while you were talking, I went through my Amazon browsing history because I was kind of like, I was listening to what you were saying. I thought, okay, this is a good place to start because I had several things on there. I was waiting for the price to drop, and it's like, am I wanting it because it'll be cheap, or I'm wanting it because it'll be in my collection? And I realized I was waiting for it just because it'd be a deal. So I made myself go through and drop about 10 different things.
Yeah, because you don't need it.
Yeah. It's I got this for such a good deal, and it'll be in a box in the basement until I get the shelf done up. It's just taking me a very long time to get. It's that mindset that this is going to look so great. I'm going to have it here. It's going to be. You're so focused on what it's going to eventually look like, and yeah, it may be awesome, but it's going to be an absolute nightmare to get there.
Yeah.
And that's my problem.
I can understand that, Don. Like, when I got rid of, because I was collecting just G2, and G2 Combiner Wars came out, all that stuff. I had all those. Then I went into my custom G2 stuff, because you guys know me, I do a lot of custom toys too. I had done like so many things with that, but I got to the point that I was like, why do I need two G2 Superions when I have the original? It's cool to pose, but do I really have room to pose them the way I want to? That also was an issue. So I was like, what do I keep? Do I keep the one that I love, which is the original, or do I keep an articulated version that I can't really do much with? So I got rid of the articulated one, because that's what I wanted, was the best representation to me of the line. So I got rid of all that. When I'm like double dipping on figures or double dipping on characters, it's just one of those things I've had to retrain myself to do that, and also not paying, like you said, like doing the deal thing. Sometimes if you wait, you find it good, a good deal. Sometimes you don't. But yeah, that's how I've handled that type of train of thought. Like, it took me several years to get there. Believe me, it wasn't like overnight. So I know that, I honestly think, Don, I think by doing that, that's a first step. If you start looking at it like that, you may start seeing how much more you'll be able to get rid of quicker. Especially since you said you're going to be doing this toy show pretty soon.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll help.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect opportunity for you. Even if it's just a little, it'll start getting you going.
Mhm.
And trust me, it will work.
With that being said, do you guys have any more closing thoughts before we bounce out tonight?
I'll say this. If you're a younger collector and you think this is not going to happen to you at some point, it will. Because the memories you have associated with finding this stuff, it becomes all balled up like a giant knotted string of yarn. And it's all connected. And it all feels good because you remember, hey, I was at this convention with my best friends and we found this. But like what Megan was saying, the memory is not tied to that toy. Don't be like me and be like other collectors. I have original Armada Optimus. I have Legacy Optimus. Do you need two Armada? Even though, but that's the problem. That's the trap. They represent two very different things, even though they're the same character. So you've got, as you're collecting, you have to look at, I love this. I've had it for a while, but now there's this. Is this more important than this? Or does this nostalgia make it more important than the new one? Yeah, you can have both. But sooner or later, you're going to run into what we're running into and other collectors run into. You got to make the choice. It will creep up on you. It'll walk up behind you. And it will take a bag of nickels and it will smack you across the head and say, oh, hey, you remember when you were 20 and collecting this stuff? You're 45. You'll be dead before another half century goes by, probably. What you gonna do about it?
So, I agree with, at some point you're going to get smacked with a bag of nickels. For me, it was a bag of jump starters. But still the
Just
same
send them
thing.
to me. Just send them to me. Kidding.
Got rid of them, man. Got rid of all of it. The thrill of the hunt. Love it. You got it.
I
Let it
think
go.
for me, the thrill is more important than actually
The toy.
what the thing represents.
Sure. So then, once the hunt's over, get
On
rid
to the
of it.
next thing.
Go to the next thing. When you start hoarding the stuff and pushing it and boxing it, you're going to get to the point where you go, I either don't have enough room, or this is too much to manage, or like Donna and I found out, you keep buying the same stuff over and over again because you forget you have it. If you don't even remember you had it, guess what? You're not going to miss it. Not going to miss it. And if you're worried about, well, I want to make a profit, buy stocks, not new toys.
Invest in 401k. Put the money in a 401k.
I
Do
also
your
say
401k.
invest in yourself too. Highly invest in yourself, because
Yeah.
your own skills, your own things that you get into is going to be more than most monetary things will. It'll help you with life.
And it's
That's-
definitely going to do you a lot better than a box of toys.
That's very true. Well, with that being said, you guys ready to get out of here?
I'm going to go bed.
Us old men need to get some sleep.
Let's see.
All right, well, make of us say your sound off, and then go ahead, Don.
Just everyone don't take this as this is a very kind of down episode from the part that I've been on, but we're trying to let you know where we're at, where you're going to be eventually, if you're a younger collector, don't make some of the mistakes we did. You find something you like better, sell this earlier version if it doesn't do what you want it to do anymore, and just be aware that sooner or later you're going to have to get rid of it. Enjoy it while you can, but don't get to the point where you have so much you can't enjoy it, because that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm having to face. But reach out to your fellow collectors. People that have done this will help you, and just try the best you can to get through this, because once we get to the other side, there'll be a lot of weight relief off of all of our shoulders. But you just got to slog through it.
Absolutely.
I agree with that one. Well, that being said, we will be here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Might not be the same three of us. Cyber may be able to join us. This bounces around a lot every week, but hey, that's cool. But anyway, if you guys have any questions, comments, or anything like that, leave them in the comments down below. If you guys have any suggestions, please put them down there as well. That kind of helps us come up with more ideas that we probably didn't even think about, because we're old, we get forgetful. It's very true.
Who are you again?
We get old and forgetful.
What?
Huh?
Yeah,
I didn't hear you. I got to turn my hearing aids up.
that too.
All right, guys. We'll see you all next week.
Everyone take care. Be safe.